Hey, you guys, I'm RoxanneSpeed with Enjoying Life Supernaturally. I have been having so much fun with my one-on-one clients, and you guys that come back, you bless me just as I do you. So go become a client. If you want a direct, detailed word, if you want direction or clarity, or just what do I do? Come sign up. It's waiting for you. Don't hesitate. Don't be prideful. Yes, God can talk directly to you, and he does, but he brings other people, prophets, other people's words through the Bible to set you free. So go check it out. RoxanneSpeedGlobal@gmail.com. Also, I'm offering a dream interpretation workshop. I'm not teaching you in this thing. I'm giving you the interpretation so you know what God is saying. All right. So, goodness, you guys, God has really been on me to tell my story again. And I'm like, Lord, I've already told my story so many times that people are going to get tired of it. And he says they're going to get tired of a ministry that its foundation is on your suffering and on your pain, but on your purpose, on your progress, what wisdom you've gained, how you've grown in this thing called my anointing in and through you, why you're effective, Rox, why you're different. I talked to a lady today at one-on-one, and she said what I've been hearing people tell me is, Rox, you're imperfectly perfect. That all your imperfections, but your authenticity, your willingness to be unorthodox and not super professional and closed off and worry about appearances. You're just you. You just bring it like it is and you tell it like it is. And what you see is what you get. There's no deceit, right? There's no motive behind it. People like me because they can discern a godly heart, a godly motive. So I'm going to tell my story a little bit more for you new people coming in. And the Lord said, the old people, the people that are already familiar with your story are going to gain knowledge as well. I'm just going to use it. Look at Joyce Meyer. She told her story 1,000 times and she still does it today, but we are set free. Not ever does Joyce continue to tell her story that I don't get something new out of it. I like Joyce Meyer. So anyway, all right, you guys, when I was born, my parents were addicted to methadone, or to heroin. Actually, not born, when I was conceived, right? I was the last of a bunch of children, and my parents were not together. They were broken and drug addicted, and there was toxicity, there was strongholds, there was no form of parenting, there was no love or no stability, there was no feeling of belonging and being accepted and content. No. When I was born again, methadone addicted, and the doctor had told my mom, this baby is going to be born with abnormalities. This baby is going to be born Down syndrome or with all these problems. And my mom, she cried and she went to the Lord, even in all of her mess. And she said, Lord, let my baby be healthy. And if you have, then this is a sign that you have forgiven me. So 9 months later, I come out. Boom, here I am, right? But then 17 days, my sisters and my mom told me that there was no help for me, that I withdrew off of severe opiates, man-made synthetic, pretty much as strong as heroin, if not. And I kicked for 17 days. Can you imagine the trauma on a baby? Even though I don't have a remembrance in my mind, so to say, but my body, my spirit, my soul remembers that trauma, right? So then, I'm a little girl and I'm coming up with parents that leave us at the mall. They leave me in the house. I remember being so little. We lived in this really crappy trailer park, right? And down the street were these people where my parents liked to go and hang out. And I remember I'd wake up in a dark, cold house. We lived in Colorado at the time, and I would panic, right? I would run down, and my little self, probably about 7 years old, and I find mom and dad, my heart's racing, and I'm like, oh my God, here I am, and they're getting high. They're just partying, like, how you doing, baby? Is everything good? And I'm confused. What are you doing? You're happy. You're content. You're okay. And I'm over here lost and scared. And where are you, mom and dad? Where are you? your protection and your parental guidance. They didn't have any. And they too were stuck in strongholds and generational curses that came to destroy the people through each generation. And it got my mom and dad. It didn't stay. My dad died of a drug overdose in 2018, but he loved the Lord and he was saved. My mom is now clean. I love her. She loves the Lord, but this is my story. So I grew up from a young age watching drug addicts come in and out. My dad would shoot at TVs. This is no lie. He's fighting with his brother over drugs, over something. And I'm 5 or 4. And I remember my dad shot a TV because he was so angry. And I remember everyone screaming and getting down. And I'm running around not knowing what's going on. And then I would go from that situation to now my dad's gone. Where is he? There's a different kind of trauma. Now me and mom are in the car and we're searching for dad all over the town, right? We're going to all the places we know he would be because dad hasn't been home in days and mom is panicking, and I have to continue to help her and encourage her, and I have to strengthen her. I was life coaching from a little bitty girl. I had this gift and I didn't know it, but it was being developed. Listen, the development of this ability to coach, to have wisdom, to guide a people, right? It took severe suffering. It took situations where then we would find daddy and mom would fight and dad would get in the car and he's doped out, either on coke, looking all tweaked out, or he's got needles and he's about to shoot up. And I didn't know what dad we were getting. So mom would scream at him and we would drive home and they would fight and hot coffee would be spilled or names that I don't even want to repeat would be said. And I'm sitting back there scared, not knowing what to do. I remember this and I'm sharing this because it's real, because I know there are people out there that God needs me to tell this to. I do not say this because I enjoy it. I don't, but I do it because I'm obedient. And God says you have to hear this. And when you hear it, it's going to click and it's going to set you free of a lifetime of indecision, right? And a lot more than that. So we would get home and my mom and dad would fight, and mom would call the police because my dad was threatening to stab her with a butcher knife, right? And she ran through the house. I remember, no joke, my brother was there. And she jumped out of a window. And I thought my mother had died or broke her neck, because in those mobile homes, it was really up high. You know what I mean? It was high up. And so in a trailer, you have a small window. My mom wasn't small. And then you have a high up, right? Because the mobile homes are propped up, and she dove through the window. And me and my brother are like, and we still laugh about it today because we have to make light of things. She laughs. But back then I panicked. My nervous system was jolted again. Oh my God, is mommy okay? Did daddy stab mommy? Did mommy break her neck or bust her head, or is mommy there? So I'd run outside and I'd run around to the back, and there was mom laying there crying, and I had to love and encourage. And then I had to go and check on dad, and then I had to get between them as he punched her, as she threw stuff at him, right? I was constantly all over the place. No wonder I suffered with panic attacks and anxiety and inferiority and things where I hated what was going on, and I hated myself because I was still imprisoned to this life that I grew up in. It was all I knew. It was all I knew. It was the tunnel of chaos that I would live through for years and years more to come before the Lord gave me purpose and set me free from the prison. So here I am. I'm growing up a little more, and daddy still shoots up, and mama still cries out when he leaves, and we don't have a lot of food in the house, or maybe mom's doing good that week and she's able to relax and give me her time and attention, or maybe not. Maybe she's gone when I wake up every morning and I have to go to the bus stop alone, and I'm afraid. And I have this feelings, this attachment disorder is what they say I developed. It was an anxious attachment because I didn't have the belonging. I didn't get the nourishment and the love and the stability. And the mommy goes and mommy comes back, and I know how to attach and detach, help right? Where it was healthy. Nobody helped me. So I grew up very, very wild. I was fly by the seat of my pants. I would make decisions so quick, I didn't even think them through, or I could think through so fast, right? Because my mind still worked like that. I was really analytical. I could see 18 steps ahead, and so I started on pain pills, right? Pain pills became my thing. They were Superman. They made me strong. They made me normal. You ever, someone talks to you in an addiction and they tells you, it made me feel like me. It's true. It gives you a false sense of security and reality, that those impending doom thoughts and that anxiety and that fear of failure and that fear of being rejected and everything else, it quiets. It gets real quiet, and it kind of goes numb, and it sits to the side, and there's that courage. There's that ability to get up and clean the house. There's that ability to go one more day in hell. There's that ability to get through a job that sucks in the matrix, working longer than 9 to 5 at prisons for doubles of being a correction officer. It helped. That monotonous, torturous thing I had to do, but back then it was part of it. It was hard for me to do anything organized and constructive, right? Because I was wild. Why was I wild? Because I grew up with everybody that was wild, and I couldn't teach myself. I couldn't learn skills and conquer feelings and master my emotions and read the room of other people properly. Why? Because not one day did I have a normal childhood, as most of you, that I could just sit and play games. There was always something. My dad kicked me in the shin, came running at me so hard because I stressed him out. My mom was at work and he was getting high, and he didn't want to let me and my little friend out of the house because he didn't want to worry, I guess. My dad still loved me, right? So he said, wait. So we begged, and as kids do, and he ran at me, kicked me as hard as he could with steel toe boots on my friend, jumped on his back. She can vouch. To this day, and I walked. It was so big, it was like the size of an elephant. It fractured. I limped. I cried. I was a skinny little 13-year-old girl, 14-year-old girl, and I had to go to school, and I had to go away to my sister's house and try to do life there and adjust to new schools and new people and new places, and I just couldn't. My anxiety was too bad. And then, just to give you a little bit more of that story, I was really rejected in school. Kids picked on me and they bullied me. I was probably sickly, or at least sickly looking. I was strong, but all the stress and the trauma and being, in the drugs and all that didn't let a plant develop properly. There was no good soil. The sun didn't shine, and the wind and the oxygen wasn't right. I was trying to survive, right? I was trying. So here I am, married, children, being in broken, narcissistic, very familiar situations with very abusive men that didn't care, that disregarded me, discredited me, lied, slandered, made my mind totally warped, beat me down. It was the devil. He knew who I would be, because even then I was anointed. I was called and chosen to be this person that would preach the gospel, that would speak for the Lord, that would lead people to Christ, to really know him. There I am popping pills. Hey, I was still called and anointed. And then I said, Lord, I'm married. I have a dog and 2 kids, and I'm still broken. I was a harsh mom. I'm going to tell the truth. Grew up hard, right? Had to protect myself, being raised with 2 narcissistic parents, because my mom didn't beat me then, but she was very disapproving, always angry. My mother was always agitated or controlling. I had to live under that thumb. And so it's why I rebelled more. It's why I was probably more wild and maybe even sneaky, right? Because I couldn't live under that control, but it did have me. I didn't know what it was. I didn't know it was narcissistic behavior and spirits that come from generational curses, right? It was bad in my family. So there I am, grown up, and I'm harsh. And I don't let my kids be validated, and I justify why I did everything. And I wasn't unattentive. Mom, I wasn't tentative. I wasn't emotionally present. I would try, and my mind was so busy just staying alive that I couldn't properly nourish them. I would do it, and then I would fall into this thing called bipolar. I would go into manic episodes and then go so low I'd swing back and forth. Wow, my poor kids, the poor me that was raised that way, my poor parents that were raised that way, and so on and so forth, all the way back to Adam. Because again, it's generational curses, sin cycles. We just do what we see. We're a product of our environment. So I finally cried out to God after years and years of addiction, years and years of broken marriage, years and years of abuse, and years of just dead, just feeling dead, hating everything, right? And I said, God, there's got to be more to life. There's got to be, because if this is all there is, I don't want it. I didn't want to die. I didn't want to lose my kids or my family, or I just wanted more. I knew there was more because I was still saved, filled with the Holy Spirit, and marked before any of this junk. I was still called. I was anointed. I prayed, right? And then God answered me. I started reading the book, Stormy O'Meriton, about, Lord, I want to be whole. And I started coming to realize how broken I was and why I was broken and the root of this brokenness. And one by one, I started attacking these spiritual strongholds, this root of anxiety, this root of fear, this root of condemnation, this root of self-hate, inferiority, addiction, go on, right? And I tried to get off and on these pain pills, and I couldn't. I would run right back to it because psychologically I was addicted and physically I was dependent, but my mind wasn't healed yet where I could be sober like I am now. So God sent me to a church. My brother invited me to a small home church on a bad side of town in a really bad neighborhood. So I forced my husband to take us, and we went, and we parked in a really crappy part of town, and we walked up to the driveway, and we knocked on the door, and this seemed run down. And when it opened, a beautiful black woman opened the door, and just whoosh, the peace, a feeling of belonging hit me. And I knew that I was a part of this. I knew that this was something that I needed. So I begged him to take me back, and he wanted to go back to the regular church, the normal, just everyday dead church we attended. And I'm going to say it was dead. There was no seeds. There was no greatness. There was no discipleship. It was dead. But it's what we knew. So I fought, and we went back a couple times, and they called out my name. They revealed to me that I was a prophet of God, that I was God's apostle, that I was to preach the gospel, that I was a leader, that I'd bring him to the nations, that I was powerful in the Lord. And I started learning about all this prophetic stuff, this apostolic stuff. And I was there a couple months, and then my journey began, right? This whole journey began from 2012 when the Lord called me by name and told me what I would do with the gospel, to when I started the ministry, right? In 2023 is when it kind of took off. 2022 is when it became, I recorded videos on YouTube, and I did more than just prisons or home Bible studies. So it began to grow. So anyways, I'll tell more of that story later, but I want you to know that I could not be doing what I do now with such power and anointing and effectiveness if I had not been through every one of those sufferings, every one of those trials and tribulations and losses and pains and agony that I overcame. And now I help people through it, all of this. And now I'm powerful, and I have dynamite wisdom and knowledge and strength, right? I have a Samson type strength. I gained it by falling and having to get back up and falling, and people stomp on you. And not only are you falling, but the weight of their weight is on you, and you're trying to hold them up and you can't even hold yourself up. But all along, God was using it. You had no support. Everyone just controlled you. You didn't know who you were, and you went nuts. And then for many years, you numbed, right? So I'll give you a little recap. And then here it is. So I want to tell you that God allowed everything you went through for a reason. That God took you from before he formed you in that mama's womb, and he knew you, and he said, this is what they're going to do for me. And he put you in there, and he let you bake, and he knew your eye color, your hair color. Every one of your hairs on your head are numbered. He knows all of it. He knew all of your days before one took shape. Every dirty, good, bad, good or indifferent thing, word, anything you were going to ever do or say. He knew it, and he approved of you anyway. And he let you grow, and he planted you a little seed anyway. And then boom, chicken broke the shell and you popped out, right? And he has a really good plan for your story. And it's going to help many people, and it's going to change society, and it's going to be a trend setter, and people are going to be inspired and transformed by the crappy things, the crappy life, the crappy upbringing, being poor, impoverished, drug addicted, right? Domestic violence. Just, I remember these names, right? Too skinny, not good enough, stupid, weird, crazy, right? Trash. And he's going to use every part that you hurt, every part that's ever caused you pain. And he's going to use it, and it's going to be like honey, like a liquid gold honey on another person's soul. So you guys, when he stops, I stop. So I'll tell the rest of the story, but I love you guys. Take it. I hope it blesses you. I know it will, because the Lord has not stopped about me giving this out, right? However, there'll be part 2. But I love you guys. Sorry if the lighting has been crappy in here. I love you. Sign up for Prophetic 101. Let me help you, guide you, make decisions with you, give you clarity. Come on, let's do it together. That's what it's here for. All right? Be humble. RoxanneSpeedGlobal@gmail.com. Also go check out the Dream Interpretation Workshop. Bring a dream. I'm going to give you the interpretation and the revelation. And I'm also starting an online dream interpretation and vision course. It's going to be quick and easy. It's going to be like good, a crash course, okay? All right, I love you guys. Like, share, subscribe, comment. Oh, put in the comments, I survived, right? I survived. You know that show, I Survived? Like people get, attacked by alligators or sharks, and they tell their story about how they survived. This is what this is. I survived, right? It's a lot worse than it sounds when you're trying to tell the story. But anyways, okay, guys, give. Like and share. I love you guys. Mwah. See you next time.